The hard thing about streaming from your expertise, a lot of things. All the social stuff that you'd never have to do in other jobs. The same way. The fact that everything reflects back on you and your image. I think a lot of jobs, even if you're an entrepreneur and you're owning a company and you're the face of the company, you still have this whole group of people behind you that could be partially to blame for a thing. Or, you know, like there's still a whole company existing, whatever. But when it's you, the individual, and, you know, for all intents and purposes, you are the product, there are a lot of difficulties that go into that. For example, if I have some people who are taking a really long time to ship the merch, as had happened in the past, I'm the one who's seeing people talk about it. I'm the one that they're coming to ask about it. I'll be midstream doing my thing and people will be like, oh, do you know about this? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm fielding all of that. And then there will be people who think it's my fault. There will be people who think it's my company's fault when they, at the time, were not even the ones doing that. You know what I mean? Like, that was outsourced. So, you know, but still people will be like, oh, I'll never trust buying things from you ever again or something like that. Not many people do that, but enough people do that where they think it's like, you know. And even if we stand up there and say out loud, you know, this is what happened and blah, 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 it doesn't matter. It reflects on you, the individual. Even though I wasn't in those warehouses. I never touched the merch except for what was like physically shipped to me. You know what I mean? I came up with things, handed it off, and then that was the end of my involvement on how it went, right? It's stuff like that that is hard when you do content, that you're the face of everything and you always get the brunt of everything. Anything doesn't go how someone wants and they assume it's your fault, or even if they don't assume it's your fault, you still are dealing with all of their negative feelings, right? Like all the discourse about it is happening in your tags, in your Discord, in your chat, whatever, it's in front of you, and you feel like you have to do damage control if it's something bad. If it's not something hugely bad, you can like this especially, I could just be like, yeah, no guys, I'm sorry, whatever. No one was like yelling at me or anything, right? But with some other situations, some people really do have to like deal with a lot of really bad when it has nothing to do with them as an individual, right? And you have to be the bad guy sometimes and stuff like that. Or someone in your team does something terrible, they're still going to put your name in every headline. This person's, you know, assistant, whatever, this person's team did this, right? So that's very difficult because then you have to worry so much about what everyone around you does. And then that's number one. Number two, I would say all the social stuff, all the social politics, not being able to tell easily if someone is your friend or wants something from you, trying to be able to tell why people are approaching you. Pretty much everyone wants something from you, and sometimes that is fine, depending on how they go about it. Sometimes it's actually totally fine. Sometimes it's really not. You'll have people that try to be your friend for 6 months and like marinate you. They don't ask anything from you, and then like 6 months in, suddenly they want a lot of things, and you're like, what? Huh? That happens a lot. So the social stuff can be really difficult. A lot of the stuff happens behind the scenes and it's not good to say publicly or show publicly. So a difficulty with the social stuff as well is like, it's like doing your best to keep those things a secret for the good of everything, right? And it's not, how do I say it? Like, you don't lie to people, you just don't say certain things because you're like, yeah, that shouldn't be public. It shouldn't be anyone's business, right? Yeah, managing limited information. Doing that is really difficult, really difficult. And then having to sit there and exist in the space in general, whether it's in front of your chat or in front of other people, more so within the space, and not let them know about all these things. Like, for example, I know someone, they did something bad. Do I go run and tell everyone that they did something bad? Depends on what it is. Is this something where it was a mistake of theirs and I'm like, let me not spread this because they've learned from their mistake, they're probably going to do better, I don't want this to blow up on them, let's give them a chance to just approach people normally and not have everyone think they're terrible off the bat, you know, before they've ever met them, all this kind of stuff. Maybe someone wronged me and I never really made a big stink about it, I just quietly didn't say something, and then I get invited to a collab and that person's in the group chat. Oops. You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff like that too, and you're like, oh, what's the move there? Because there are a lot of things where you're like, it's just a me thing that I want to avoid, but I don't want to like make a big deal out of it. The PR around that gets really weird. A lot of friends have said that they've had situations like that too, so I'm like, that's rough. That's really rough. So I think one of the hardest things being a streamer is navigating all of the PR, and it's not just always like in the fully public facing realm, it's also just, you know, person to person. It's so weird, and it's usually not even about stuff that's that bad. It's just a simple thing like one person just doesn't enjoy collabing with another because they don't think they mesh well, but they don't want to tell that person that they don't mesh well because that person likes them, you know? So they're like, ugh. Stuff like that, you know? It's really difficult to manage all these little things. You have to be aware of how everyone else kind of feels about that. Like, you know, there's no little document, little list you can just refer to know all this stuff, right? Something happens behind the scenes, you don't know about it, and you invite two people to a thing, and then you're like, oh, I didn't know there was something going on, you know? know? It's crazy. Yeah, normal issues have become larger due to social environment. Yeah, exactly. It's stuff that's usually not like that bad, but you know, the way things work socially and everything, it becomes a little weird, because then if you're not in front of an audience, you walk into a party and there's someone there that, you know, you're a little awkward with, you can just physically not stand near them. That's okay. But when you're in front of an audience, if you do that, people will be like, I notice you're not interacting with this person. I notice you keep walking away. So you're like, do I pretend? Do I be like, oh, I'm sick, oh, gotta go? Like, what do you do, you know? So it just makes things like that, like a little multi-layered, a little complicated sometimes. Thankfully, I haven't had too many issues with that, because I usually detect stuff early, and I'm like, oh, I'll stay away from this, you know? But yeah, the noticers, they make life harder. Because then if they do notice this stuff, like, it wasn't that big of a deal to you, but now that someone noticed, now it feels like a bigger deal, and you're like, oh, I didn't want this to be a thing, you know? Becomes the whole thing when you didn't want it to be a thing. And then that person, if people in their community notice and tell them, they're like, oh, you're right. And then it becomes a bigger thing with that person, but you never meant for it to be a thing, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I've been in a lot of corporate environments where you do have to do this stuff. You do have to navigate this stuff a little bit. But at the end of the day, you're like, suck it up. We're just doing a job together. A lot of this is intertwined with, yeah, we're doing this for work, but we're also doing it for fun, you know? So it's a little different the way people in the community look at it. And it's harder. It's harder to get through a lot of it. I don't know. You would say you don't vibe with them. Here's the thing. If you say you don't vibe with someone, whether it's directly or to their friend or whatever, they're going to tell everyone that you don't vibe with that person. And then it's going to get back to that person. And then that person is going to feel so wrong. They're going to want to know, what did they do wrong? Why don't they like me? Oh, they hate me. You know, like they always take it 10 steps further than it is. Even if you're in your mind, it was like really not that big of a deal. You're just like, I don't like our chemistry on stream. You know what I mean? No matter how small you think it is, it'll get telephoned. So there's a lot of little things like that are so hard to navigate. And even, you know, you're always going to think it's like not really that big of a deal. It's not that dramatic, but someone else might hear about it and take it to heart. And now you're a big bad meanie. On some level, your paycheck is contingent on you having fun, which is kind of weird. Yeah, if you're like not having fun or making fun out of something, your whole chat notices. If you're able to make that into a funny situation, yay. But, you know, if you're in a collab with someone and you're just like not having a good time and everyone's just watching that happen, they just start leaving. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then what if that person messaged you again and is like, I had so much fun, we have to do this again, let's continue that game. And you're like, oh. Or maybe you like playing games with them, but you realize you like comfortable silence with that person in a Discord chat alone, you know? Or like 4 people silently playing games in a Discord chat, saying a couple words and not like collabing and trying to be fun. You know what I mean? It might not, you might actually love that person, but you just are like, I just don't want to do content with them like that, you know? How do you tell them that? How do you tell them that? That sucks. So, I don't know. I think that's one of the really annoying parts of streaming, is that a lot of the social shit gets really complicated.